Welcome back, everyone, to Worlds, where we are about to head into two LEC versus LPL matchups. First, though, I would like to take a minute to congratulate KT and commiserate with the FLICKR. I don't know which one you want to start.
Let's start with DK, then we end on a positive note, right? Because I think for DK, unfortunately, this was a very fitting ending to their year. It just has never felt like this roster ever seemed to be on the same page. And I think that this is a continuation of this. Looking at their bracket, obviously a little bit of hope, you know, after the BDS and GAM series, but also if you watch this team, you know that that wasn't really going to be a big indicator. And I think that even in this series, a lot of the things that allowed DK to do well were also due to KT just not really having a moment or having too much of a moment, like aiming. And unfortunately, this might also be the last time that we see Showmaker and Kenyon together, right? It's also the exit of Deft doesn't make quarters for the first time when he's at Worlds.
Yeah, and even though the format is a little different also for the LCK, we knew it was going to happen, but it does solidify DK is one of 3 Korean teams now to not make it to the quarterfinals when making it to the World Championship.
Sad for DK. I do want to get your take on KT as well, because I had a lot of trouble discerning kind of level, I want to say.
Perfect.
Right?
That's the team. That's the team. I have no idea. Is this team gonna be 3-0'd in quarters?
Aiming is sick.
Are they?
Except for that one moment where he's.
Yeah, except for the Zeri jump.
Or are they gonna win Worlds? They made it in with the hardest schedule of any team.
That is. So I think that actually plays a big part. I also think this KT team just defies logic. Trying to understand them just doesn't really work. And I have no idea. Are they good? Maybe,
they've been
probably,
training.
like, they should be.
They are good. They are
I think
good.
it's just the fact that it's so inconsistent, right? As you say, like, we just highlighted at the start of the day how good Cuz was against LNG, and then I don't know if Cuz was in the game. Like, honestly, throughout that entire series.
And if it was necessary.
Yeah, so it just feels so all over the joint.
And even with aiming being the reason why the game doubled in length, he was also the reason why they won. So it's KT. Who knows?
It's crazy.
They're crazy.
Yes, but we will be seeing KT in the quarterfinals, and now we have 2 spots left, and we're up against it. Listen, EU fans, I know you were angry. You probably went to bed angry. You probably got up angry. I certainly did. But we got to let it go, and I hope our teams do as well, because both Fnatic and G2 have their work cut out for him. We have Fnatic versus Weibo up first, and then we have G2 versus BLG. Those are the last chances, but of course, I don't want to be too EU-sided here. For the side of the LPL, they do have a chance to get all 4 of their teams out of the Swiss stage into the quarterfinal as well. This is where we're going to start, Jad. LEC versus LPL historically.
I mean, on the bright side for LEC, they need 2 out of 3 wins in one of the series. They have 45 wins all time, so it's a small fraction of what they've accomplished.
Just ignore the 87.
2 best of 3s.
But those wins can come at any moment, and for what it's worth, Shocks, we've been to all of these World Championships, and there have been so many situations where you think the EU team is dead. Yet, from 2015 to now, one team has always made it through to quarters. So that is a long streak. That is a very long streak.
Roll the copium. I requested something so that we can get more excited, or at least a little bit more hopeful in terms of moments where we have had it in the past. And Dagda, I know you've only joined us lately, but we've been having these heart attacks for many, many years. Some of the examples include, you know, G2 upsetting RNG in a best of 5, something that nobody would have expected. Fnatic back in 2018. IG twice. I got some of it. Fnatic starting 0-4 and making it. I just need this in my veins right now.
0-4, and they started that day getting absolutely turbo-gapped by Longzhu to go 0-4 before winning games and then winning the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I mean, look, Fnatic have been an absolutely phenomenal team of finding those upsets and finding those moments where they can shine, particularly against the LPL teams, and I think a huge amount of that has come from the consistency that we saw with Caps, but also now moving into this new roster as well, looking towards people like Humanoid, and I think a huge of that is going to be the same for me today, looking to see where they can try and find that success, playing around that mid lane, and seeing if they can try and shut down Weibo here today.
And then they made it through in 2018, last time we were in Korea, all the way to the World Final. But there was 2019 Fnatic as well. I'm not sure if we have this in this role. But
I don't think so. We're grouping G2 and Fnatic.
There's a moment in 2019 where they were in a barn burner against Clutch.
True.
The game quality seemed super low. And then they went on to beat Uzi and beat FLICKR and 3-0 the day to make groups. So one of my theories on Fnatic is the worse they look in their latest victory, the stronger they become in the next game.
I like it. Oh my God, you're talking my language. This is also mad. Can't forget that tiebreaker versus LNG, which was insane. I just wanted a little bit of hopium, but as you said already, Doug, let's get into this one specifically. You brought up the mid lane matchup, Humanoid versus Xiaohu, featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. And we need to dive into it because Xiaohu hasn't been having the best time at Worlds in general, but will Humanoid be able to capitalize?
Yeah, I think a huge amount of what Xiaohu was back when he was on RNG and coming in towards Weibo was, hey, I'm going to try and control side lanes. I'm going to like drop waves. I'm going to play for bot lane, try and play for top side, make sure that I'm able to control the game. That hasn't really been happening in this World Championship. He's been targeted a lot, and we got to see that great against Mad here, where you kind of take out the captain of Weibo, and it's like, well, what do you actually have to steer the ship? And I think this is going to be another tactic that Fnatic are going to try and employ here as well. Fnatic, for Humanoid and Razork, they've been so good at working as a duo all year long, and now here, if they can try and take out Xiaohu once more, it feels like if Humanoid gets in his ear, this is where Fnatic can then play through their strengths, which has been that mid-jungle.
Additionally, I also think that Fnatic in the series against C9 showed that it was a messy series, right? Against Weibo, I don't know what the outcome is today, but Weibo is never going to be clean, right? Like, I think that there always is going to be a very inherent element of chaos to this series, and maybe the series that Fnatic have played up until this part can help them a little bit with that and keeping their composure as well.
On the counter side, Fnatic hasn't had the best time versus LPL in general. Of course, they didn't win versus LNG. They didn't win versus BLG, although they boasted a good early game. And when we look at Weibo, they are also a very hard team to read because they have great players pound for pound. But I think even the LPL fans who have watched them all year have been screaming at us, this is what always happens with Weibo.
They just don't have consistency. One player that's been weirdly consistent for them so far has been TheShy, which is really not what you'd expect. I liked one of his post-game interviews where he said his coach introduced a new Aatrox build, which allowed him to reconsider the champion, and a lot of that was Gore Drinker and Sterix. So you can see, if you're the old Duskblade Aatrox, those openings are actually a one-shot, but it's just not the case, and he's been putting himself in these very daring situations and making the outplays.
And one of the things that has been consistent about TheShy, even when he was in the LPL and being a bit quote-unquote like coin flippy, was how strong he was in lane. Every single split, without fail, he'd be top 2, top 3 when it came to goal difference of 14, CSD of 14, and I think that's where we're starting to see him shine once more on picks like the Aatrox, where he's able to play hyper-aggressive in lane, get these advantages, and then turn them into big team fight leads for Weibo as well.
And also, I think it should be positive sign for Weibo that they had a game in which their mid was very, very behind, very losing, and they still ended up winning that game. So I think in terms of that, it's going to be difficult.
Xiaohu's just that good.
He's just, all he needed was one charm.
Exactly.
It's the way it was. Now
Always
let's kind of, before we get into the game chat, let's talk a little bit about kind of how important it would be for both of these teams to get in to the quarterfinals and how big this match is.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see here Fnatic really clutching out this series against Cloud9. There were early games in this series where, to me, it looked like Cloud9 was going to have the upper hand, but it was in the decisive mid and late game team fights that the Fnatic team was able to win. So there's going to be a lot of really scrappy, chaotic fights against Weibo today, and they're going to need to build off the confidence of the series.
And it's fights like this that cast a lot of doubts aside for me for Fnatic, which is Noah having a phenomenal performance on the Aphelios. We've started to see that creep back in more and more. If he can get his hands on this champion, they're going to think he's doing fantastic. But on the opposite side, a lot of this game actually brought more doubts for me for Fnatic. Like, looking at guys like Oscarinin, I don't think the Rumble ults were really on point. So I'm expecting Fnatic to have to try and play around Noah, have to try and play around Humanoid if they want to try and succeed here today.
And I think for Fnatic, it's also important that they maintain the development that we've seen. Because coming in, I was looking at Noah, my boy from Challengers, and then he was playing really muted. And I think that that is something he kind of let go of, as you point out, as he got more comfortable in the tournament. They need to show that against Weibo today. Because if you hesitate against an LPL team, they'll punish you hard.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it then. We have a very stressful back half of the day if you're LPL or EU supporter. So let's head over to our casters. It's a win for us. I think it's Medivedi.
It is Medivedi, and it's not a stressful time at all, Shocks.
No,
we all
we're
know.
relaxed.
Very chill over here.
Yeah.
Very calm.
Very excited to see what seats on the aeroplane Fnatic and G2 will choose.
Yeah.
Perhaps premium economy. Maybe they'll move up. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
Comfortable, living in luxury. But yeah, we have a banger lined up for us today. A Fnatic versus Weibo. Expectations are, well, I think they're very mixed depending on who you ask. I think that many could sit there and argue that Weibo looked like the favorites. Let's not forget that it's not been the easiest road this tournament for Fnatic, and some of the wins that Weibo have had have looked very, very dominant. So I'm interested to see what these teams have prepared coming into this matchup, but it's do or die. Medic, the winner moves on, the loser will be sent home.
Yeah, the loser out of Worlds contention. I will give you some numbers quickly. Very at Worlds this year, Weibo 50% win rate versus EU teams. Lost to G2, beat Mad Lions. Fnatic 0% win rate versus LPL teams, sadly. So I think we know how this one's going to go.
Well, we're jumping into draft, so let's see what these teams have been cooking up. What will they show us? The Nico and Rumble taken from the side of Fnatic does make a lot of sense when playing up against Xiaohu and TheShy. Razork's Jarvan actually being respect banned. Interesting, we heard from him an interview with Lord that he did where he talked about Razork. Jarvan is not something that he's had a lot of success with throughout his career. He finally found some of it at Worlds, and now he's earning those respect bans. The Xayah, of course, can be taken away from Weibo. Orianna is something I think you do have to respect when playing up against Fnatic. Humanoid, his Azir and his Orianna are both champions that he is extremely comfortable on, has a very long history on, so wouldn't be surprised to see Fnatic prioritize those.
I think for both sides, Azir has to be one of those picks you're looking for early in the draft. Xiaohu's put it out a couple of times already at Worlds, and obviously is well known for the champion across his long and storied career. Orianna, though, looks like it's going to be the first lock-in here for Fnatic on the blue side. Obviously, with the Xayah banned away, no priority on AD carries as of yet. Maokai also removed by Weibo. We'll see where they decide to go here. Can just go for Kai'Sa plus a jungler, something safe. Even the Rel can come up, but Renata snuck her way through the draft and has been making waves so far here.
It's also Weiwei's Poppy, something that for anyone that got to watch the early stages of the Swiss, he had a monster performance on it in his debut game against NRG. It's something that he's extremely comfortable on, one of his go-to picks, and it gives him a lot of agency in the early game. Now, if you really want to go back through history, there was a meta of Poppy Trundle, and Razork was the Trundle guy. It was something that he would often use as an answer to Poppy, so something to bear in mind as we see the Aphelios locked in for Noah. A lot of comfort picks coming through so far this tournament. Chris, Leona and Renata is what he's been playing, so not too surprising to see him on that. It ultimately feels like both these teams are coming in and getting things that they know they're good at, and they should feel comfortable on coming into game one.
Which I think often is the way that you want to approach these elimination matches, especially against a team you haven't played against in the past. Weibo and Fnatic never met. Even Suning and Fnatic, who were Weibo before Weibo was Weibo, never met on the international stage. So just finding comfort, finding things that you know you can execute well, can often work out for you. Fnatic then lock in the Cassante. Often we see a Rakan on this first rotation blue side, on second rotation blue side, but you don't really want to pick Rakan into Renata and Poppy, so I think that one's going to fall by the wayside here. Zeri now locked in for Light.
You imagine things like Nautilus. Well, actually, I wonder if they will choose to ban the Nautilus. Renata often considered a pretty good matchup into it. Rel is something they could look to take away from if they're concerned about that engage. Of course, Poppy very good at mitigating a lot of these, well, engage support champions that exist in the current meta, but we are actually going to see that Nautilus taken away from Trymbi. Will they choose to remove the Alistair as well? Is this something that they're concerned about? Or will it be something like the Rel? Maybe even the Thresh is something that they're a little concerned about. Not something that we see a lot of, not really considered super strong in the meta, but Aphelios Thresh is something as a bot lane 2 versus 2 can give you a lot of power potential and pick potential as well.
Does mean that you lack a bit of engage. Often we do see supports being a secondary or even primary engage here in Worlds 2023. Azir removed by Fnatic, trying to force Xiaohu down a little bit in terms of his champion pool. Fnatic still looking for a jungle and support. Weibo, we assume, are looking for top and mid. Of course, that Poppy can be flexed up towards the top lane if TheShy desires it.
Yeah, my expectations are that that won't be the case. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Jax ban here coming out from Fnatic. They may even want to get rid of the Aatrox if they are too concerned about TheShy getting his hands on it. Or they might just continue to limit Xiaohu's champion pool. Maybe they want to remove something like an Ahri. I'm not entirely sure if Xiaohu's super comfortable on his Akali. Things like Tristana we saw a lot, but that wouldn't make a lot of sense when paired up with the Poppy. what is Fnatic thinking about right now? So it would be the Syndra. Yeah, that also makes a lot of sense. Two very big and powerful mid laners that exist in the current meta, and both that Xiaohu is pretty confident on as well.
Weibo probably going to look towards their mid laner here. Have a few options still left. As you said, the Tristana for Xiaohu, something he's brought out a couple of times that doesn't really fit too well into their current composition. Could also look for Jace if they really desired it. In fact, actually looks like they're going top first. Aatrox going to be locked in here. And Fnatic need jungle support on this next rotation.
I mean, TheShy's Aatrox, it's a joy to watch, right? He's had so many impressive performances on it when he played against Mad Lions. He was a large part of why they were able to win out on that series. So exciting to see him go up against Oscarinin, a young rookie to the international stage. Going to be a lot of pressure on his shoulders to hold the pressure that is TheShy.
I mean, Oscar in his rookie year as well, you have to remember, he did have a relatively good rookie year after the first 3 weeks where he really struggled, but still very new to the international stage. Sejuani locked in, obviously works well with the melee. Cassante up towards the top side and gives you some primary engage. Bard an option as well for Trymbi. Has kind of fallen out of all of his engage supports, and it looks like it's going to be an Enchanter down towards that bottom lane. Milio for the first time at Worlds.
Well, there's not a huge amount of reliable engage from both sides. Maybe that'll change with Xiaohu's final pick, but outside of the Sejuani, it's not going to be an easy way for Fnatic to start fights, and unless Weibo can find good flanks, perhaps this Sylas could be the turning point. We have seen it used into the Orianna matchup. It struggles early on, but as the game progresses, the threat onto the backline and the flexibility that it can offer is something that can be very lethal. But Fnatic have gone for a very traditional scaling front-to-back composition. A decent amount of disruption when you have things like the Milio and the Cassante as well. Whereas Weibo, a lot of skirmishing power on the side lanes. They're very powerful with both the Sylas and the Aatrox. Again, their team fighting, I think that it has a lot of power if they can find the right fight, but their actual engage options aren't the best. They have a lot of disengage, Poppy ultimate, the Renata ultimate, tools that can be used to zone or create space for your front line to kind of gain access, or rather your back line to do things in the fight. But outside of Poppy, they don't have a true tank, so I think there's going to be a lot of staring at each other in this game. There's going to be a lot of who's going to pull the trigger, but the thing is, we know Razork. We've been casting him all year. He's not afraid to make those plays, and anyone that's seen a Weibo game knows that any single member on their team could be the player to start a fight, so you've always got to be ready, and whenever you expect a slow game, these two teams are the ones that will often usurp that and find a way to fight.
I have to see exactly how they decide to enact their compositions on the stage. Often you look to the supports for early game action, whether they can roam level 3, level 5, get up towards the top lane. Here, both the supports aren't really on roaming champions. Crisp obviously playing the Renata, Trymbi on the Milio, both champs that really want to stay around their AD carry, keep them safe. Renata has a little bit more flexibility, I think, when it comes to joining up with a 5v5, but obviously we'll see if Trymbi can match that. Expect a few battles around objectives, but I wouldn't be surprised at all, Vedi, if we are just in for a bit of a scale-a-thon here.
Pressure.
Pushing down on me, pushing down on you.
And the players, because it's do or die. This could be their last series of the year, and it's EU versus LPL. You saw it on the desk earlier. All-time record heavily in favor of the LPL, 45-87. And Fnatic, their all-time historical record against LPL teams, 18-32.
Yeah.
Now, depending on how you look at it, initially you can sit there and go, that's not a great win rate. Or you can do the Jad approach, which is they've won 18 games against LPL teams, and they only need to win 2 today.
Hey, every game is 50-50. You either win or you lose it, right?
You either win
and
or lose.
so far, the odds have not been in Fnatic's favor. So eventually, they've got to even out, right?
That's how statistics works, right?
EU's just going to go 42-0 against LPL across the next few weeks. Sure, G2 listening to that will be very happy. Like going for the Dawn's Blade start in the bottom lane, expecting that he'll need a little bit of Omnivamp and a little bit of health helping him out. Noah going for Cull. I prefer this, especially into a lane where you're kind of expecting just to farm up. It means that you get that 300 gold infusion, and it means that you can build up towards your first item a little bit quicker. And it's a Fnatic game, guys! Confirmed!
Oh, that's funny. Scout's getting to Instagram right now. Yeah, we are. Once we have more information, of course, we will share it with you. But
cancelled the start of the game, but huge.
I mean, we don't really have much more to say. We talked about the drafts. Looks like that there is a bit of an issue with Razork. The early game, nothing too exciting.
We've never struggled with that in the past, though. Often we find something to say in these sorts of situations.
Yeah, we'll find something. But right now, I'm going to speculate what Razork, what his issue is.
You could have speculated maybe about his jungle path in the early game. Is he going to look towards a specific lane?
I think he spilt water.
Yeah.
That's my
possible.
A classic common pro player fumble.
The hands are good, but only in-game.
You know the sippy cups? It's so funny. Like, we couldn't trust pros with water bottles anymore, so you can see them next to them, those little sippy cups. They are fantastic, but it's all because of pros.
You say that as if we don't often have to only bring sippy cups up to the desk as well. Like,
True.
It's a general thing around electronics. Maybe you don't want the liquids spilling out all over the place.
Fans have been great so far today.
Yeah, they really have.
KT versus D+ was an absolute banger. The crowd was electric, and a lot are sticking around to sit here and watch. Of course, a lot of LPL fans in the house. LPL fans will travel all over the world to support their teams, no matter where you go. There is always a lot of LPL support. And of course, TheShy on your screen, a huge fan favorite. Former world champion.
Stayed for EU.
I
mean, NA done very well. Energy obviously making it through yesterday against G2.
Yep.
We'll see G2 in action later on today against a BLG, whether they can bounce back. Fnatic currently hoisting the flag for their European brethren.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I love that they talked about it on the desk. It's often Fnatic that's in the worst situation when it comes to the World Championship, right? Like, we as casters know that there's always a drama, the Fnatic drama that happens every year. It's never an easy road for Fnatic at the World Championship.
Even before the World Championship, Oscar broke his hand before playoffs happened, right?
Always, the fans are conditioned at this point, and coming into this series, I'm sure that they are numb. You know, they're prepared for whatever may happen. But the Fnatic faithful are strong. They followed them throughout all of the roster changes that have happened this year. It's been a very difficult year for the Fnatic fans indeed, but here we are. We find ourselves waiting for an update on...
And we have one.
Oh.
Razork actually paused the game. League officials restarted his client. They're getting the ready checks done right now, and hopefully we will be resuming the game shortly. On the other side, of course, Weibo, ever up and down. Vedia sometimes look like one of the best teams in the LPL, can challenge anyone. TheShy is popping off. Everything's going incredibly. And then sometimes looks like a team that gets a 10,000 gold lead and loses to G2. You know, it's very changeable.
The stat that I keep being told I have to say by a particular individual is that Weibo is one of the few teams that has a winning record against JDG.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that just goes to show the disparity of this team. They can have a winning record against JDG throughout the year, yet...
Be the fourth seed.
Be the fourth
If only
seed.
they can make a final, Vetti. JDG is always there.
Yeah, it's Weibo is a team that they are inconsistent, right? You never really know what you're going to get from them in a game. But that's also what makes them incredibly exciting to watch, seeing TheShy return to the international stage, this roster. I mean, talking to Hysterics, like, this roster was considered a super team, right? You look at the names on it, it's got a lot of talent. Originally, it's a roster that people had high expectations for. They didn't quite meet those expectations.
Yeah.
And now we'll see if they can deliver. I know that there are a few diehard fans that believe that they can make the run, they can go all the way. Of course, still a lot of question marks about whether or not they'll be able to do it. Can they join LNG and JDG in the quarterfinals? Of course, reminder that the winners of the 2-2 series are much more likely to go up against a JDG or a Gen G in the quarterfinals.
Basically, one of the winners of the 2-2 series today will not face JDG or Gen G because there's only two of them, and then the other two will. So you have a 1 in 3 chance of avoiding JDG and Gen G in your quarterfinals as we get on into the action 2 minutes in. And not much has happened, unsurprisingly, here.
So Fnatic did drop that early ward onto Raptors to gain a bit of information as to what Weiwei was up to. They see that he started on Raptors. Imagine that he's pathed up towards top. He's going to be doing a full clear. We'll see if he looks for an early gank. Crisp's getting that early level 2 from the push that they have in this ward. I wonder if it'll time out on the Raptors or if it will spot out Razork. It looks like that it will spot him out. So Weibo getting a bit of information. You'll see the pings coming down now. So both sides have a rough idea of where the junglers are. Question is, can Oscar play around this top gank that Weiwei is looking for? We talked about how when he's on this Poppy, he is incredibly proactive in the early game. He's always looking for opportunities.
Good handshake back there onto Trymbi. Cozy Campfire goes down, but it's not going to heal him up too much. Already down to about 150 HP. Weiwei looking for the mid lane. Humanoid flashes away from the chains. Summoner burnt there in mid by Weibo.
I'm kind of surprised the Humanoid flashed. I guess the moment that he saw the Poppy knockback, he was paranoid about Xiaohu following that up, but Xiaohu completely missed. Sitting in the fog of war now is Razork. He doesn't get spotted. He's mainly here just to cover Humanoid, make sure that he can get that push underneath the tower, look for a reset, maybe even TP back into lane.
I mean, also because he knows Weiwei path through the top river, he's going to be slower to the Scuttle Crab. So Weiwei hasn't taken as many camps. Razork's already got a couple of camp leads.
Wait,
in fact, even smited away his blue buff.
That
so really intelligent pathing there by Razork, knowing that Weiwei was behind on his clear because of the mid gank, could come across and steal away the blue. Now, he's not going to be able to get the Scuttle Crab unless he's able to fight Weiwei off it, because Weiwei does still have the smite. The bot lane moving up from Weibo. Razork can look for more. Flash handshake, Chris. Cleanse away by Noah, but now Razork is coming in from the side as well. Chris going to get caught out by Razork. The heal has been used, but already first blood to Fnatic. Light trying to dance around the wall, can dash away to safety. Weiwei still has his flash and will use it before the permafrost stun comes down.
A hyper-aggressive play there from Crisp, committing the flash so early on, but Noah just responds with a cleanse. He disengages from the situation and Razork sees his opportunity, flashes onto the flashless Crisp, and they know that they have the damage. Razork will steal away the Gromp. Weiwei falling a little bit behind, but already Fnatic find themselves with a 1k gold lead. We talked about it, Medic. Fnatic and Weibo, they're not afraid to scrap. And we see it right here. Razork able to get this cheeky steal.
That's a 50-50 as well. Both of them had smite up for it. And then I was surprised that Razork continued to invest around this Scuttle Crab, knowing that he didn't have the smite.
Well, the thing is, Humanoid has push in mid, and the bot lane can respond. So Trymbi flashes away, Noah cleanses in, look at this flash in from Razork. The Q also connects from Noah, meaning he can land that auto attack for that final kill. And then the rest of Weibo are forced to retreat. Fnatic off to a good start. Even get the flash out from Weiwei. Missed that live. Razork will trade back the crab. So overall, great start for Fnatic.
And good gun management from Noah as well. Was able to get his Gravitum switched into in that fight, meaning the root could come down. It gave them a little bit more priority in terms of the battle. A 700 gold lead for Fnatic in the early game. We have seen them garner these leads a couple of times throughout this tournament, and often their mid-game is what lets them down. A few decision-making errors, but if they can continue in this sort of route, in this sort of pattern, it's a good sign for all the EU brethren who probably woke up at around 7 a.m. to watch this series back in Europe.
It was against BLG where Fnatic were also able to get a good early game lead, but in the team fights is where they ended up falling short, and Bin was able to find some incredible plays on the Jax, and TheShy's Aatrox is something that many EU fans will remember, so we'll be keeping our eyes on him and seeing how he progresses. So far, overall, the lanes have gone pretty even. It's only the junglers where we're seeing any sort of big discrepancy. But so far, things are looking pretty positive. Fnatic will be the first to start the Dragon with the priority that Humanoid maintains in mid. He's going to work down with Razork, who now has a full level over Weiwei. You can see that little pink bar underneath the champ icons to indicate the experience and how close they are to the next level. And you can see the Razork with the camp advantage that he has as a full level over his jungle opponent.
Let's see where the middle wave is, because Humanoid came down to help Razork after pushing out the lane, but that wave is frozen. Weiwei could be in a good position to actually get a gank off. Has the Hex Flash yet? Humanoid, the wave a little bit too far up for him here. He has to respect the fact that Weiwei is waiting in the bush, and Weiwei has been incredibly patient in staying here.
A lot of time wasted, though, for Weiwei, and he really isn't finding anything. Humanoid doesn't have the flash, and Xiaohu, like, he's positioning very aggressively. Humanoid sniffing something out, knows that he just has to wait for the wave to come into him. Oscarinin in a similar position. He doesn't have to overstay his welcome. He can just wait for the wave to come, and then they can clear that one out. So Weiwei's, again, wasting a lot of time. Razork now level 6, looking for a play in bot lane.
No flash on Crisp. Should be the target. Light still has the cleanse flash, and of course, can always surf across the wall if so required. Light's going to body block for the moment, but Crisp, his flash almost coming back off cooldown. There's the Glacial Prison. They look for Crisp. They lock him down. The shield coming out. He might be able to survive this. Noah does still have the flash. Will they go for more? Noah takes him with a flash forward. Light able to dance his way away from the oncoming hordes of Fnatic, but it's another kill over to the LEC second seed.
Noah had to sacrifice his flash, but that's 2 kills for the AD carry of Fnatic. A player that at the start of the tournament seemed to be struggling a little bit with nerves, but he really found his footing against Cloud9, and he's finding it once more today. Nearly 2k is the gold lead now, and most of it sitting on top of Noah. Fnatic finding more advantages, and Weiwei His early proactive style not really working out. He did get that flash out from Humanoid. That's now back up. He's been looking for things on the map, but it really hasn't converted into anything, whereas Razork now finding 2 early kills for Fnatic.
Razork stealing away that blue, stealing away the Gromp, getting those 2 assists early on just accelerated him in terms of experience as well. You can see Weiwei just going around doing a second clear right now up towards that red buff. Razork waits. The Oracles will spot him out, as you can see, but there's just no reaction available to Crisp.
Yeah, it was a close one. He almost got away with his life. Noah had to commit the flash to secure it, which is something that Weibo could look to punish moving forward. The wave should now be bouncing towards that bot tower, but the Herald is alive and Fnatic are there first. Crisp has made his way up alongside Trymbi.
Both sports only level 5. Crisp, though, if he caught some of this wave, would get 6. There it is. Hostile takeover now a possibility. Good knockback from the Keeper's verdict as well, and Weiwei sends Fnatic packing, steals away the Rift Home.
No smite for Weiwei, but he doesn't need it. Great play there from Weibo as they're able to secure this objective and force Fnatic back. Another plate goes to Noah. And I keep my eyes on Xiaohu. He keeps moving into this bot river fog of war, constantly creating pressure on the map, something that Noah has to constantly respect. But this jungle gap continues to grow. 20 CS to lead now. A huge camp advantage for Razork. Level 7 ticked over. He has the ult.
2 seconds on the Glacial Prison here. If Xiaohu steps forward, he's knocked back, tries to abscond, ducked away, but the permafrost, the shockwave brings him back. Even through the flash, Fnatic find the kill.
Very nice play from Humanoid and Razork, and you can see that Razork is focused today. Something we talked about extensively coming into this tournament was when Razork is playing well, Fnatic is playing well. He is the lifeblood of this team when it comes to early game success. And here in game 1, he is looking poised to dominate.
Have seen Xiaohu have a few of these fumbles as well. Did it against Mad Lions in the early game. Weibo was still able to come back and win that game, but I really think there, if we do see a replay, we should look at where the vision was for Weibo, because they had the top side of his river lit up, but he was still shadowing the bottom side of the lane, making it so much easier for Razork to close the gap.
Look at the gold now. Humanoid and Noah sitting at the top. Light not that far behind. Of course, a 700 gold discrepancy still separates the AD carries. Oscarinin just kind of left to his own devices. His responsibility here is to just soak the pressure from TheShy. And he's doing a pretty good job for the time being. A dive could be on the horizon, but with Weiwei on the bot side of the map, he wants to contest this crab. And he wants to fight for the next dragon. 3 members of Weibo here will spot out Razork. I think Razork's going to have to concede this, but after pushing in mid-wave, Humanoid can move into this bottom river with Humanoid at his back.
Bot lane is pushing up as well. Light can't really answer the pressure that Aphelios and Aphelios and Milio can put up there, so it allows Fnatic now the opportunity to gain that river control around the next dragon in 30 seconds. Oscarinin probably going to lose a plate here as Shy can just avoid him. Shy not tanking the tower. This doesn't matter too much. It looks cool. Good job, Oscar. You can get him under the tower. You get his World Ender out, which is actually maybe the entire intention, because it now means if TheShy was to join a fight around the dragon, even though he doesn't have the TP, he could run down. He no longer has that ultimate to impact the play.
I mean, Oscar, he could look for a good fight here. Shy needs to wait for the ultimate to wear off. Oh, this may be the window. Ooh, nice sidestep there from Oscar. But the dragon now started off. Weiwei's positioning does give him a bit of access into the river. Fnatic playing towards the top side.
Fnatic need to be careful, because a good Keeper's verdict into a hostile takeover can totally change the landscape of this fight. Trymbi kicks away Weiwei, showing his football skills alongside his League of Legends ones there. There's the hostile takeover, hits Noah, but immediately he cleanses. Razork going for Weiwei. The smite comes out from Razork as well. That's the second smite fight. He's won this game already. Weiwei able to shuffle his way away, but Fnatic get the objective.
Razork is just on point today. The second dragon secured for Fnatic, and he came to play. Throughout history, Fnatic have been able to make miracles happen, and of course, we're still very early on, but perhaps Razork can continue that legacy. A 2k gold lead now for Fnatic. 2 dragons in their back pocket. And they're looking to get a few more plates for Noah. Oh, no, all right, he's choosing to reset. Oh, no, the pings. They're going to greed for it. A bit of indecisiveness there, but they are going to choose to reset. Impressive stuff from Fnatic. Calm, calculated, punishing small mistakes from Weibo. And while they did, of course, lose the Herald, they're going to drop that mid now. This will funnel a bit of gold back into Weibo. Keep my eyes on Crisp as well, moving into Fnatic's jungle, trying to get a bit of vision. That gold will largely go over to Weiwei. Xiaohu not really being able to pick any of that up.
Didn't get in range to take away the plate gold there, so Obviously, getting the gold is good, but on Weiwei, who is predominantly going to be a utility champion through this game, it's a little bit of a struggle. A 1,600 gold lead for Fnatic in this early game. Getting up towards those first items as well already. Kraken Slayer completed on Noah. His flash back up as well from the earlier play in the bottom lane. There's the Everfrost. Weiwei on his way as well, but Humanoid has the fancy feet and doesn't even need to burn the flash to escape the mid gank from Weibo. Shockwave Xiaohu as well. This is more for poke than anything else, making sure that Xiaohu can't enact another play. Noah now in the bottom lane will know that Weiwei and Crisp are on their way. You can see Weiwei is looking for things. This is what he does. He is a proactive early game jungler, but Fnatic are stifling the proactivity of Weibo in this early game.
I mean, all I can say is I'm seeing Fnatic ooze confidence, you know, and not in a disrespectful way. It's just that we talk about the potential of this team, and we've seen it domestically, but internationally, this is the first time we get to see this roster play. And obviously there were question marks, and in their debut, I feel like we didn't get to see full strength Fnatic, but this is what this team can do. When they're all on point and they're finding plays in the early game, they can really leverage that momentum to their advantage. And Humanoid demonstrating it there. Completely calm, doesn't panic flash, uses the mobility, procs the phase rush, and walks away out of a dangerous situation. The plate's still overall even for both sides, both securing 700 gold, but these early kills for Fnatic converting into that early gold lead.
It feels like Weibo will be looking towards 2 minutes away. It is only a Chem Soul, so it's possible they actually will decide not to fight the third Drake, because Chem Soul not as impactful as if this was an Infernal or a Hex.
I think they will, though, when Noah is this strong. Like, look at that gold advantage, right? That is
I'm saying Weibo will fight.
Oh, right, sorry.
They may choose not to because it's a Chem Soul.
100%, yeah.
But they likely look towards that because TheShy has been farming up as well. He is in a strong position on this Aatrox. He's picked up plates. He's got that gold drinker already. You can see Weibo now shadowing him, making sure that he can push in. The Rift Herald up as well for them. I doubt Fnatic fight this.
Well, Humanoid has TP, Noah's resetting, but I think it's going to be way too late to the play. They're just going to give that one up.
And you've given it up for the bot tower, right? Because that's what Noah was pushing in. You've already taken the turret, plates are down, so there's not that extra gold infusion from a Rift Herald charge. In totality, it will be a relatively even trade, assuming the Rift Herald doesn't get 2 charges off or takes a tier 2 somewhere. Oscar here underneath the tower, just trying to clear the wave before the Rift Herald does go down. It's already gone, so now Fnatic move Noah and Trymbi into the mid lane. Light will answer. And Weibo will be looking to 1 minute's time and whether or not that Chem Drake, third dragon of the game, will be there. Fighting point to Xiaohu flashes. No vision really for him. Had to respect the fact that Fnatic could close in rapidly.
Complete respect being shown from Xiaohu there. He did not want to get shockwave.
TP. They just saw Oscarinin TP top, so TheShy is now looking for a flank position on Humanoid. Humanoid has TP and flash, but how do you get away from TheShy's Aatrox? He's done this so many times before to European teams, and Humanoid is not long for the Rift. Weiwei here as well, a good shockwave, but it's only going to buy a second as Weibo get on the board. Crisp caught out, but Fnatic can't find more.
A very nice punish coming out from Weibo. TheShy with a good flanking TP gives them control around the dragon, and this makes it that much harder for Fnatic to contest. They even get Humanoid's flash, setting up for a play later on, unlocking this bot lane tower as well. I think in an ideal world, they would have loved to use this mid. Relatively short range comp can be difficult to break open this tower, and Fnatic are going to look for it. They see a window.
Still 2 seconds on the Drake, 10 seconds on Humanoid, and he does have TP. Mid lane tower falling low. Xiaohu has TP as well as Noah steps in. Trying to get the damage down onto Light, but Light able to dance his way away. Rift Herald's going to get a charge in the bottom lane.
Now Humanoid is back alive, and Fnatic, with the pressure that they have in mid, should be able to TP and answer this. Humanoid's ultimate, I can't quite see if it's off cooldown just yet.
It's not.
And the TP now coming in from Xiaohu, so we will have a brawl around this third dragon.
Shy caught out a little bit. Oscarinin looking for the knockup flash. Knockup onto Light, who cleanses the handshake, pulls Oscarinin away. An incredible keeper's verdict from Weiwei. Disseminates the fight forces. Fnatic to the wins as Weibo pick up another. Oscarinin now falling. Will Fnatic fight 4v5? It's a possibility,
Do they
but
wanna
it's
take
so
this
dangerous.
gamble?
TheShy, 6 seconds before the world enders, back up. The shockwave pulls him back as Razork and Fnatic dive in. There's another. Both top laners down, and it's a 4v4 brawl about to erupt in the river. The hostile takeover finds 2. Humanoid and Noah able to dodge to the side of it, and I believe the Breath of Light was used by Trymbi as well to cleanse away. The ultimate for Milio gives Razork the ability to get towards this dragon in time. Permafrost on the Drake. It's down to 4,000 HP, and now Weibo still looking for their fight position. Xiaohu has the Glacial Prison stolen. Sejuani ultimate across the wall of Razork has won every smite fight so far, and he finds another. Milio caught out as Trymbi will fall. Lightning crash from Light. Is he going to add a name to his death note? Looking for the E. Light Yagami here, but he's caught out, and it's Fnatic, in fact, who strike in the river.
They're
Once
looking
again,
for more.
another fight position is coming in. Oscarinin, no TP. He's going to try and join the fight as quickly as he can, but TheShy has the defender's advantage, and Razork and Fnatic will back away, but they got everything they wanted out of that.
Razork refuses to get outsmited today. That's 3 for 3 on the Dragons. They put themselves to sole points. And the crowd is coming alive. Fnatic, they end up trading in every single situation. It's Weibo that finds that initial pick onto Oscarinin. But Oscarinin did a lot of work. He gets every single summoner spell out, and we're going to get a look back at it. Yes, Oscar is alive at this point, so we're going all the way back to the start of the fight. So he forces a flash out from TheShy, flashes in to get the summoners out, cleanse flash from Light, Crisp with great utility, and as you highlighted, Medic, a really good ultimate from Weiwei, protects the backline.
Yeah, yeet.
Knocks them all away, leaving Oscarinin isolated, but then Fnatic find a great trade back, getting that pick onto TheShy, turning it into a 4 versus 4, and while Trymbi does lose his life initially, Weibo end up split up, 3 members run south, and then Razork. This man is on fire in game 1.
And importantly, as you mentioned in the replay, Oscarinin made that happen. No cleanse, no flash on Light, so when he dashed away, when he was separated, Fnatic could strike. The entire team working together here, and now Noah, Infinity Edge, Kraken Slayer complete on the Aphelios. Across the year, he has only lost 4 games on it out of the 16 he's played. We saw against C9 how powerful he can be on the champ. It's what kind of dictated him. It's what made him a name on the European stage when he joined. The fact that he could bring out this Aphelios, but the question is, can Fnatic fix their mid-game woes? Because it has been at this point when they've been in leads here at Worlds and they have struggled, and Weibo are just so good at pulling teams into the chaos, at finding flanks, at finding skirmishes. And that's exactly what they're looking for here.
The goal difference isn't so dramatic that Weibo can't turn this around. The Chemtech Soul, while still a soul, there's no reason why Weibo shouldn't be able to turn this around. Weiwei now setting up for a pick. He has found Humanoid, no flash on Humanoid as well. Razork coming to support.
Razork spots TheShy. He's going to get knocked up here. Trymbi and Noah on their way to defend as well. Weiwei still hidden in the bush. Sneaky. Glacial Prison going down onto TheShy. There's the hostile takeover. All of Fnatic able to dodge away from it. The shockwave takes down TheShy. The Baylight won't bring it back in time. The keeper's verdict dodged by Trymbi and Noah, and now Weiwei is stuck in the midst of Razork and Humanoid, stunned up with the permafrost. Oscarinin looking to tank the tower, but they back away. Patience from Fnatic. They found the kill they were looking for, and perhaps they can look for more.
Fnatic turn a potential pick onto them into one that goes in their favor, and now they start the Baron. Could this be a moment for Weibo? No,
Have they learned from G2 is the question, Betty.
Fnatic step away. They don't take the gamble. They walk away with the pick happy. TheShy is fallible, Medic. Against Mad Lions, he felt like an unstoppable wall, one that would not falter when he was on this champion. But for the second time, they find a pick onto him. Razork in a bit of danger, 3 members collapsing. But with the support of Humanoid and Weiwei, not in a great position to support, they find that pick and they disengage. And look at this sidestep, Noah and Trymbi moving away from Weiwei, and at this point, Weibo are just forced to disengage.
Weiwei burns his flash. Let's have the Hex Flash for an ensuing fight. A minute now on the Drake, and you can see Fnatic setting up their deep vision, getting in here, making sure that this blue side jungle of Weibo is no longer a safe area of fog of war. There is always the risk that Weibo see this and say, the Baron's on the cards, we could just run towards it. You have Light at 1.5 items, and Xiaohu on Sylas isn't going to be the quickest Baron in the world, but sometimes you can sneak these things under your enemy's noses. 50 seconds on the Chem Soul. Fnatic gaining control of this bottom side.
TP on the Orianna as well. Wouldn't be surprised to just have Humanoid catch that top wave, get level 14, and then have the TP ready to move into the bot. looking at the win probability powered by AWS, obviously heavily in favor of Fnatic right now, largely because of all these objectives that they've secured for themselves. 2 items fully completed for both mid laners. That Sterak's yet to be finished for TheShy. Really instrumental in giving him more survivability in these fights. That 3rd item getting closer and closer for Noah, who's sitting, look at, by far and away with the biggest goal lead, Xiaohu.
Gets spotted here, pulls the all-out, but the all-out comes back, and everyone giving it all in the fight. Xiaohu, there's going to retreat as Noah begins to step forward, and Xiaohu now has the burn. Noah flashes for the shutdown! Glacial Prison's going to land on Weiwei as well as the TP comes in from TheShy to try and rectify some sort of situation out of this. TheShy, though, almost locked up underneath the tower, but that Infinity Edge Last Whisper Kraken on the Aphelios is looking a little bit like 200 years, Betty.
Noah is saying that there's no room on the arc for you, Xiaohu. He sends him straight to the fountain. They're setting up for the dragon. I think Noah's just doing it solo while the rest of Fnatic stare down Weibo. The gold lead isn't getting out of control, but it feels like that this game certainly is. Fnatic with the soul, and now setting their eyes on the Baron.
You have to think, though, and maybe it's the pessimist in me, maybe it's the person in me that's seen EU fall so many times to the LPL. Noah burnt his flash. That is a window. That is a possible moment for Weibo to find him, especially if Weiwei can find a good knockback onto some of the tanks with the Keeper's Verdict. Xiaohu burnt his flash as well, the only player on Weibo yet to get kills in this series, Xiaohu. I think at this point he's like, okay, I'm going to flash away. I don't think you expect Noah.
He wants that money. You saw the shutdown as well. But Noah, 3 fully completed items. He is a monster, level 13, same level as Xiaohu. And the Baron is being baited. Farsight being used. That's now not available. There's no vision in the pit outside of that control ward. Yep.
Just got put in by Weiwei. That's what we see great teams do, is just constantly have a way to refresh that vision.
But
if
you look at the
it.
inventories, the vision is now very limited. Still a control wall ward available for Trymbi, and 4 control wards littered around this Baron area for Fnatic. Excellent patience being demonstrated by them.
And this is great as well. You step deeper, you get your vision just that slight bit further into the enemy jungle. You start to deny things, and if you can hold this for a while, it becomes very tricky. Trymbi here, stepping forward, misses the knock-up onto TheShy, and is immediately knocked up himself. Pathmaker coming out from Oscarinin in TheShy, caught with the Glacial Prison, the Keeper's Verdict comes through, but it goes through the goalpost once again, and Weiwei is dragged back into the meat grinder. Hostile takeover only hits onto Razork. Fnatic have been dodging that incredibly well in this series. Humanoid on Weiwei, lay up towards the top side, but Razork immediately turns on him. Oscarinin keeping 3 people at bay. Down towards the bottom side is Light. Now only with a cleanse to try and get away. The all-out on TheShy. Pulled back with the Pathmaker. Infernal chains the knock back with the Intofos. TheShy down, and nothing can bail Weibo out of this team fight once again. Oscarinin can't quite land the Q3 and is able to dodge away from Light just in time before his life is forfeit.
All 5 members are alive. The jungler is dead from Weibo. That's no smite, and I think that's a Baron for Fnatic.
25 minutes in, Fnatic have Chemsol. They have what's going to be a 5,000 gold lead. They have a massive lead in terms of inventories, and now they have the Baron as well. It's hope beyond hope here for EU, but what a game it has been from Fnatic.
TheShy gets focused down initially, but he's able to disengage. Then they turn their attention to Weiwei, and you can see that Weibo is just split up in the fight. It's hard to know who to focus. This front line of Oscarinin is just soaking up so much damage. They think that they've caught Humanoid, but then Razork turns his attention to Light. Oscarinin zones 3 on the bot side, while Fnatic can just chase down whoever they want. And it's just a one-sided affair. Noah is untouched, and he is lethal. Fnatic, 3 kills, 2 rather, my apologies. Fnatic with the Baron, and Fnatic looking to secure game 1 in what has been one of the most convincing games here at Worlds.
The shockwave once again from Humanoid pulls TheShy back. He has to pop the world ender, but those wings only carrying you down a coward's path back towards your base. Fnatic now pushing in 2 lanes. You can see Oscarina shifting from bot into mid. The rest of Fnatic now moving up towards the top side. Humanoid can shadow this red side jungle to make sure he can react to either side as necessary. Noah has the Calibrum and the Crescendum, and he will rip these towers to shreds. Like butter, they melt before him. Oscar pushing in mid with the Baron buff as well. TheShy's going to try and answer that. No ult on him, remember, but he does still have the flash. Oscar under the tower, keeping TheShy interested. Top lane inhibitor now falling lower as Weibo look for their opportunity, look for their moment to strike. Is it a flash shockwave from Xiaohu? Is it a keeper's verdict from Weiwei? The Glacial Prison comes out, but it's short of locking anyone up. And now Xiaohu kept at bay with an incredible Arctic Assault from Razork. The inhibitor tower falls, Oscarinin all outs TheShy, and he's gonna pull him back. Oscar not shy of this fight right now as Fnatic collapse from the top side, and TheShy found wanting yet again by Fnatic. A TP behind though as Xiaohu is looking for something. Can he find the fight? Great flash, and Tofu, Light, dashing away with the cleanse. The hostile takeover hits one, but Noah immediately cleanses away from it. Counting Jack from Noah. Infernum, bail out! Light is down! And all light extinguished from the eyes of Weibo. Fnatic are knocking on the Nexus.
Xiaohu's trying to catch the wave to stop the end, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Fnatic have their eyes on the Nexus.
In the most convincing form I have seen Fnatic all year. They are one game away from quarterfinals.
What a performance from Fnatic. The Fnatic chance here in Seoul. Razork with an early game masterclass and Noah rounding it out. Incredible stuff from this Fnatic.
And for Weibo, backs against the wall now. One game between you and being knocked out of Worlds. One game between you and your fans ripping off their shirts, crying in whatever room they're sitting in. One game between TheShy and being eliminated from Worlds 2023. We're going to hand it over to the analyst desk to break down what was a banger game one.
I hope you're in a better mood now if you're watching from Europe, because out of the bingo card in terms of watching a clean performance for Fnatic versus Weibo, I don't think anyone thought it would be clean regardless, but I definitely didn't think that it would be this clean from Fnatic.
Have we learned nothing? Final day Fnatic, backs against the wall, 2017, 18,
Listen,
19.
I'm going to apply the KT strat here, and I am not getting
20.
excited, but you guys can.
All right.
I wouldn't say excited, but I do think that Fnatic, all the credit to them, they have a very good read in the draft, they have a very clear game plan that they then execute, and they give zero opportunity to Weibo to come back.
Let's talk about this draft, though, because, I mean, a bit of a draft gappy.
Yeah, I mean, this was such a good draft from Fnatic. And, I mean, we were chatting about it backstage. As soon as the Renata came through, they were like, hang on a second, we haven't committed to any sort of dive. Yep. We haven't committed to anything that this Renata can actually play into. Let's play for a bunch of these non-committal engages that can set us up. Things like the Sejuani ult, things where we can bring in the Milio so he can support this Aphelios and playing hyper-aggressive and not get punished because the Renata's already picked.
Yeah, I love how they picked such a strong team-fighting comp that could still engage, right? If they wanted to, the Cassante and Sejuani could still go in, but it's not like they needed to dive to succeed. So they were able to play the game out with so much patience, and then partially because of the first blood and the way Razork played, they won 2 out of 3 lanes, so they also had control of every Drake.
And I think the Weibo comp also, the moment you fall behind, like, what does this, how do you win with this comp? There is no go button, there's no hard engage, and I think particularly what we've seen when the LPL looks at its best, BLG to me is always the best example of this. The snap engages are so good. In this comp, the moment you're not first to an objective, it does nothing.
And I think you could kind of see how well aware Fnatic were of potential turnarounds Weibo had. My biggest worry for them was, like, you get the Sejuani ult, they immediately start to chase, and suddenly Renata ult comes across everyone and the fight turns around. That's not what we got, though. And I think you could see that a lot in Noah specifically, because I think Noah was always aware of, hey, I'm going to Gale Force backwards, I'm actually going to buy space for myself, and he was the one that my eyes were focused on. He picks up the early kill in this engage here, and from that, starts Cole, gets the kill, he's off to a phenomenal start thanks to Razork here.
And Razork, I gotta say, I was so impressed by this man. Sejuani often kind of feels like it stands or falls by how are your ultimates mid to late game, and he didn't actually have that great of a setup, right? He had one melee character in the top side, but his early impact, putting Weiwei behind and never letting Weibo dictate the pace, while also hitting smites, incredible.
Yeah, one that we don't even have is the early blue buff steal, which set up a level advantage for the original River fight. This was amazing performance into, like, almost no-look Sej ults, where it looks like he's walking one way and he shoots it off to the left to tag the AD carry. Beautiful stuff.
Beautiful stuff all around. I do think what you said there, Dagda, in terms of, I think this is so important, right, on the world stage in an elimination match or a qualification match. It's both actually today. That you keep your cool, especially into a phenomenal team fighting region in general, and a team like Weibo who has proven to be very scrappy.
Yeah. And I want to see how Weibo is able to adapt to this, because this is 2 games in a row where Fnatic team fighting has looked great and Noah's looked great on Aphelios.
Yeah.
And even when, before he came to Fnatic, he was great on Aphelios. And they also lose the blue side where they were able to control the pick. So,
and especially if they have the same read on kind of, oh, we couldn't do anything with that draft. I think you're getting a completely different game.
I think so.
You mentioned Noah, and every second counts. And thanks to the reliable Cisco network, Noah takes the game into his hands, flashes over the wall to kill Xiaohu and secure the Chemtech Soul, which we're going to look at 1 second. But yeah, he's been stellar, and I think then it's a case of, you know, if you're Fnatic on the red side, how can you take advantage of if they do decide to expend some bans there? It's going to be super interesting. In no means a done deal, but if we look at Noah's story in the LEC the whole year, when he started in the beginning, popping off on the Aphelios that he was known of, then he tempered off, he tried to find his confidence. This is going to help.
Yeah, and I love that we get to see this aggression coming through from Noah, where he's willing to flash forward, knows he still has the Gale Force in his back pocket, and being able to pick up that kill for Xiaohu was magnificent, because it turns the whole fight then. They're able to turn around, they pick off TheShy. It was such a big moment to see that turnaround happen.
1 game away from the quarterfinals when you look at Fnatic, and I think they look very poised. We're going to get the side selection in just a second. I'm going to wager that it's going to be Weibo on blue, so I want you to do a little exercise about, you know, what you think Weibo should change.
Well, that's the big question mark for me, is actually for Crisp.
It is.
So when I look at Renata, right, I feel like this is nearly like a band-aid for Crisp. I think he's looked absolutely fantastic on the pick, but the problem is he hasn't looked so fantastic over the course of the year on Nautilus's. He's been going back towards the Leona as his other pick. It feels like Crisp has actually had a bit of a struggle, and this Renata seems to be the, hey, we can fix this, play far back, you don't have to worry about trying to set things up. And now that it's not working, it will help that they're on the blue, but it still feels to me like Crisp actually might be struggling just with trying to get his champion pool in check.
Yeah, one thing that happened last game with Weibo on red side is they threw a lot of jungle bans, but the Sejuani was still extremely effective.
Yeah.
And I think Humanoid is the focal point of this Fnatic team, even though Noah's the one who's been carrying on the Aphelios. So the guy you see on your screen right now, Xiaohu, needs to succeed for this team to succeed. And I think making sure Orianna doesn't get in the hands of Humanoid, their blue side, they have more flexibility. I actually like to see like double or triple bans towards Humanoid to get Xiaohu a more comfortable matchup is what I want to see from Weibo.
Yeah, it could be a good angle indeed for Fnatic. It's now, the point is not to get too much in your own head, because you had a sovereign game 1 performance where you've been given a couple of gifts in the draft as well, but Maurits, they should be confident in their own ability that they can circumvent even if it gets more difficult. Now that they find themselves on the red side, also may I say, Oscar had a good game, and that's good for that guy versus TheShy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest issue for him was just that when he made a great play, half the time his team wasn't ready, right? They were like, no, there's no way he misses that Q, or he hits the Q3 rather. And being able to stay in isolation against an Aatrox and just don't die, don't give up too many plates, that's all you really need to do. The one thing for me, though, is when it comes to the draft, specifically Noah, because I think Noah, as mentioned, was the biggest difference in how he looks. And particularly in front of his home crowd, I think that he's getting more and more emboldened. He is also a player that's very notoriously outspoken.
Fair.
And I don't think he's getting Aphelios again.
Yeah.
I'll also say one final little bit of EU hopium. Last 3 years, the LPL has sent 4 teams to World Championship. Never have all 4 of those teams made it to the top 8. So if it doesn't happen now, surely it'll happen in the G2 series. It's just one of these LPL teams always seems to fall short at the World Championship, right?
Yes, is it I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just really happy that Fnatic was able to have such a convincing game 1.
Hold!
Hold! We're going to hold indeed, because we're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, Weibo is with their backs against the wall. Maybe for the last time this World Championship, they have to make the reverse sweep happen versus Fnatic if they want to stay in it. And Fnatic, they are looking poised.
Look, guys, it's a good fight. Look. Okay, we fight. Go Renata. Renata no flash. Renata no flash. Go Renata. Yeah. I'm coming first. Renata is dead, I think. Yeah.
Xiaohu steps forward. He's knocked back. Tries to abscond, ducked away, but the permafrost, the shockwave brings him back, even through the flash.
Look at Zeri, guys.
Look.
Yeah, nice.
Red Captain Jack from Noah, invert him, bail out, light is down, and all light extinguished from the eyes of Weibo.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Bringing in a new roommate to save money, is that the plan?
Say hi to Glenn from work.
Yeah, I think I have a much better plan. We switched to my plan from Verizon.
That is a good plan. Glenn?
Get my plan starting at just $25 when you bring your own phones. Plus, save when you add perks like the Disney Bundle. It's your Verizon.